Hi everyone, welcome to episode 85 of the Arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things I have been knitting and spinning on for the past week. Today it is Sunday, August 25th, and yes, I am filming again on a early Sunday morning, hoping to upload this video today as well, so hopefully it's a film today, post today kind of video. And yeah, my weekends have just been really busy lately. If you don't know, I moved recently, and so I'm still doing some of that unpacking and just like figuring out where things go, putting things in their new spaces. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that at the end of the video because I do have some craft room updates because I will have my own crafting room / office space here, and I am doing some changes to it so that it'll be perfect for me and exactly the way I want it. So yeah, I'd love to talk about that as well. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about that after we talk about the knits and the spins. So let's start with what I am wearing today. I am wearing my Doppio sweater by Seunghee, and it is actually one of my favorite knits to wear lately as of like when I moved, and I'm still trying to like unpack my knitwear, and so some of my knitwear is just kind of like I don't know where it is right now, but this is one of the sweaters that I was able to like find out of my pile of stuff and I have been really enjoying wearing. I mentioned this last week, but it's been pretty cool. I think it's actually been pretty cool lately for a like Seattle summer, so I've been able to wear my knits. And if you don't know, this sweater is knit at, well, I held 3 yarns together. This is kind of like the I don't know if recommended is the right word, but like the way most people I think knit the sweaters with 3 strands. It's 2 strands of fingering with 1 strand of like a fluffy, for me I use the Suri, and so it is a very, it's on the thicker side, but so yeah, I'm just saying that it is a thicker sweater. I wasn't sure when I knit it how often I would wear it, but it's actually been really like the perfect weight, thickness of sweater to wear. And so I basically want to knit another one. And my friend Megan, who is a Naughty Mess on YouTube, she made her Doppio, and I loved it. That influenced me to make this one, and I think she has plans to make another one later this year, and so I'll probably join her with her second Doppio to knit my second Doppio because I just love this sweater. I've loved it from the beginning, and I'm still loving wearing it now, so it's just been great. I love the fit of this sweater, and so I will definitely just do the exact same thing for my second Doppio sweater. And yeah, it's just been really comfortable, really easy to put on, it feels great, and I love it. So just quick details, since this isn't a newly finished object, I've finished this, was it last year? Was it earlier this year? I forget, but I finished it some time ago, so it's not a new knit, but in case you haven't seen it before, the yarn I used for this, I use, as I said, 3 different kinds of yarn held together. So I use Labian Aimee Merino Twist in the colorway Nymeria, which is a speckly colorway, and so all the speckles on here are pretty much from that yarn. I used Sewrella Cashmere Sock in the colorway Nolita, which was a light pink and white variegated colorway, and so all of that pink and white variegation is most likely from that yarn. And then the Suri I use is from Autumn and Indigo Fibers, Suri Silk in the colorway Rosewood, and that was just like a all over, pretty much tonal, dusty pink, and so that just has like the fluffy pink all across, and I love how all 3 of these came out together because it's, again, like, I don't know, it's really hard to put some different, very different, I guess not very different, they all kind of had pink in it, but like different yarn colors together, and to like hold it together and knit something, it's kind of hard to imagine what that would look like. I did knit a gauge swatch for this because I was I didn't feel like I wanted to just like cast on and see what happens, and I like the gauge swatch, and so that's what helped me decide. I knit size 1. I used US 7 and US 10 needles, so they're larger size needles, and made this project go by really fast. I believe I knit this in a week, just 1 week. I did go really hard. It was on knitting this sweater, it was just like really fun to knit, and so I kind of just knit it in a whole week. And my final circumference dimensions on this sweater is 35 inches in circumference, and so that gives me about 5 inches of positive ease. And so yeah, it's not like crazy positive ease like some of my other sweaters, but I just love the fit. I'll stand up so you can kind of see that. Yeah, there is like room on the sides here. It has that like signature like curved raglan, and I just think the curve is there to make the fit really nice, but it also just looks super cute. And yeah, you can maybe see a little bit more of how all of those yarn colorways work together. And it has a folded, this is a folded neck band, and the cuffs and the hem are all 1x1 rib. I believe I did a tubular cast off for all of them. And the only thing that I didn't do, and I don't plan on doing this to finish the sweater, is for under the arms on the sleeve, and I think also on the sides of the sweater, you do just a purl column in the middle so that you can go back. The idea is you go back once you're done knitting this and you sew together that seam, and so you kind of have like a fake seam. So you see those purl, you're supposed to go back and knit that together, and it's supposed to help with like the integrity of the sweater so that it doesn't stretch out, but I can't be bothered with it. And so actually maybe the only change I'll make for my second Doppio is to just eliminate this purl column, which in the pattern says you can do if you don't want to, kind of do that or have that look. But for this one, I'm just going to keep it. It doesn't really bother me, but yeah, maybe for the next one, I just will eliminate those columns, because yeah, it happens also on the sides here. But you can't really see it, unless you pull on it, so it doesn't bother me. But yeah, so that is the Doppio sweater. That's what I'm wearing today and what I've been wearing pretty frequently here. Okay, so let's talk about my whips. I don't have any knit finished objects. Also, I hope it's okay. My face gets really large towards the camera because my computer is kind of like all the way over here. I can't reach it from where I'm sitting. So let's talk about whips. I have one new cast on, so that's exciting, but everything else is just a few projects that I've been working on this past week. So let's talk about this one first. This is the Haw Creek Pullover by Andrea Gaughan. And okay, so I believe, did I even move my stitch marker? Okay, I think that last time we talked, I was here on the body. So I didn't work anymore on the body because I was finished with my first ball of yarn. I believe that that's what happened. And so I joined my second ball of yarn to do the sleeve. And so I picked up to do the sleeve. And it's been going great. The instructions have been really nice to work with, and it's very understandable. There is kind of this, in the pattern it's called a saddle shoulder. This is the back of the sweater, by the way. So this column or row of stockinette knitting is actually just knit as one piece like this, and then you pick up the sides for the front and the back. And so there are live stitches on this side waiting for you to pick up around the arm and then to grab those live stitches again. And so it was just like a really nice, the instructions were easy to follow. It tells you exactly how many stitches to pick up from under the arm up until that point. Pick up these stitches and do instructions with it, and then how many stitches to pick up all the way around for the front. And so you don't really have to do, for me, my brain is like all over the place. When I picked up for the stitches, I picked up in the rate of 2 stitches for every 3. So the way I do that, and I think the way most people do it, is like when you're looking for the stitches to pick up, I always go like 1, 2, skip 1, 1, 2, skip 1. And so that would be picking up and knitting 2 stitches for every 3 stitches. And I believe in the pattern it says that's the pickup rate. And it worked out perfectly for going around this armhole. I love when this works out, when you're picking up in the specified rate of stitches for usually for a sleeve is kind of the most common place. And for it to just work out so perfectly for how many stitches it says you should pick up until you reach a certain point, and you get there right at that stitch count, at that stitch pickup rate. I love when that works out, and I think that obviously if you change how big your armhole is and you knit more rows than the pattern says, that pickup rate is going to change, or the amount of stitches you pick up will be different. And so that, can happen. But when you follow the pattern exactly, I love it when the pickup rate matches. And it seems like, shouldn't it? And that's how I always think too. And so anyway, sometimes it doesn't work out, and so I have to rip it back out, and I have to recount to make sure what pickup rate is going to work. Sometimes patterns don't even state pickup rate, and it just tells you pick up this amount around the armhole, and you're like, okay, so I have to half that, so that I know at the halfway point, if you pick up from the underarm to the shoulder, I should reach the shoulder at this number of stitches, and blah blah blah. Again, it's easy math to do, just divide by 2, but sometimes I just want to be told what to do exactly for my knitting. But anyway, that was really nice and made me very happy. And then it's the same garter rib stitch pattern on the sleeves. There are sleeve decreases. It's kind of hard to see because that ribbing just kind of is pulling the whole sleeve inward, so you can't really see that shaping. But there is sleeve decreases under the arm, basically all throughout the sleeve. And I did try it on at this point of the sweater, and it does fit. I am expecting it to grow slightly, and hopefully just it fits. It's not super tight, but I am expecting it to just kind of loosen up a bit because of the ribbing stitch. So yeah, it's looking really cute. It's going to be drop shoulder, and overall I've just been enjoying this knit. One thing I've noticed, and it's actually really noticeable in the lighting situation I have right now, is that the ball of yarn I joined for the sleeve is lighter than the body. It doesn't look this dramatic in person. It's just funny that the camera's picking it up like that. Yeah, it really doesn't look that bad in person, but it's also okay with me, because sometimes if both of the sleeves look like a different shade than the top, I think it's better than having maybe a striping situation on the body. So because it's separate pieces, but it's fine. I just, something I noticed. But I love that yarn. And speaking of, I didn't talk about the yarn. The yarn I'm using for that is Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry Merino in the colorway Orange Blossom. And I'm knitting size A for the pattern. I'm using US 5 needles, which is 3.75 millimeter needles to knit this, and that's the recommended needle size. And this is one of my knits where I am using one of the Woolberry Rewind colorways from last year. So I really am trying to reach my goal of finishing up my Woolberry Rewind yarn that I got last year. So yeah, we're making progress. Okay, the next project that I have been working on this week, just a little bit, is the Flaneur top, or the Date Night top by Whileberry Creative, which I bought the pattern through Sewrella, and so the pattern I have is actually like the Sewrella edited version. But yeah, okay. So I didn't work too much on this, although I think that this was maybe like the first project I worked on at the beginning of last week, and then I just like didn't pick it up again after I finished some details at the top here. So last time we talked, I finished my first ball of yarn and I was somewhere around here on the body. This is a top down knit. And so when I joined my new ball of yarn, I wanted to do all of the details and basically the cute details at the top of this tank top. And here it is. And so the color's a little dark, but I hope you can see this. I did an I-cord edging around the neckline, which is in the instructions, so it's not like that was my idea. But yeah, I-cord edging all around the top of the neck, and that was really nice. It did say that the pickup rate for this is basically one stitch every stitch. Pick up and knit every stitch. And I was like, sometimes it doesn't quite work out for me. My I-cord, especially for I-cord edging, is usually very loose. And so I do generally, even if a pattern says to pick up every stitch around like a neck opening, I usually don't. But in this case, I did, because I believe the needles I use for I-cord is 2 sizes smaller than the main body needles, which is recommended, like in the pattern says for the I-cord edging to size down, and it tells you, obviously what size needles. I just like forget. Because I don't have it attached to my project right now, but it does have a size down needle for the I-cord, and it actually worked out it's actually fine. Like the front part was the part that I was worried that it was going to look a little bit flared out because of that, but yeah, worked out good. And I just need to, the only thing is I didn't sew together the beginning and end of that I-cord because I was a little lazy, but I will get to it once I finish the rest of the top. And then the most fun about this top, and the whole reason why I wanted to knit this pattern in the first place, is the ruffle sleeves. And so I'm just trying to like hold out, I don't know the best way to show this, but I want to just hold out like this armhole and also like where the sleeve details start. And or maybe I can show it like this too. So there is it's actually not an I-cord. I was going to say that, but it's not. So you do pick up all around the sleeve armhole opening, and this ruffle is actually done in garter stitch, which I think I knew, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that would look weird just because the rest of the top is knit in stockinette. But it actually looks very cute, and I think it adds to that like puffiness of the sleeve. And so this ruffle is done with, obviously to make the ruffle you have to do a whole bunch of increases around, but you can see that it doesn't go, there's no ruffle under the arm because that would be kind of weird or just uncomfortable. So the sleeve is also done with short rows. So I don't know if it's possible to even see with the ruffle, but the ruffle points out more at the top than it does near the bottom, and so it has that kind of like this shape maybe, of that ruffle. There's more rows done right at the top here than there are at the edge. I'm trying to figure out where to place this to see it. I guess the yarn color is a little dark, so it might be kind of hard, and ruffles just ruffle, and so it's a little hard to see that. But yeah, more rows up here, which means the ruffle sticks out more at the top of your shoulder than it does near the end. And I think that works out perfectly and just makes that extra cute, so it doesn't just look like this flat kind of like, thing. It just kind of like has that nice shaping and kind of like tapered look at the top. And so, yeah, it worked out really cute. Okay, I do have one thing about the instructions for these shoulder ruffles. They're a bit confusing. Okay. They're not actually symmetrical in terms of like right and left sleeve, which kind of sucks. But I actually made some changes so that it would be a little bit more symmetrical. And I have a feeling though that for my size, if I just followed the instructions exactly, I don't think it'd be that noticeable, but I fear that for the larger sizes, that the instructions that make it not symmetrical would make it look not symmetrical for other sizes. Just because I think it would be amplified with more stitches, if that makes sense. So, and I don't actually know the best way to explain how to fix the symmetricalness, because basically the instructions, they have instructions for doing this ruffle sleeve, and it says do the exact same for the other side. However, I'm going to try my best to explain what made it not symmetrical. And again, this is a paid for pattern, and so I don't want to like specific, state out numbers and all of that. But because the ruffle doesn't start until a certain point from the actual like underarm, right? For both sides, you would want them to be equal distance from like that underarm point where it starts the ruffle, and for it to increase in stitches to an equal point at the top. And just the way I was looking at the numbers and doing short rows, you're doing short rows and also increasing a lot to make the ruffle. So it made it really difficult to see when you go back and forth like this to do short rows. Usually when you do short rows, it says you make a double stitch, right? You turn, double stitch, knit until, how many stitches before your double stitch. Turn and then knit until number of stitches before your last double stitch on that side. But I don't think, because if you're doing increases at the same time when you're knitting, right? Stop a certain amount, go back. If you stop that exact same amount, you're actually stopping at a different point in that sleeve because you did a whole bunch of increases in that same kind of section. And I don't know how else best to say this, because it is kind of like, I was like, is this symmetrical? Is this not symmetrical? I'm having a hard time. So I kind of just like fudged some numbers to my own like opinion on what, if I were to make instructions for this and to make it symmetrical with the increases in doing short rows, what would I do? So I basically, when I did the increases for the ruffle and stopped a certain amount of stitches for the double stitch, before the double stitch, turned, and then knit, back with no increases, and stopped before whatever number it stated before those double stitches, I believe that I knit a little more than those stitches. And I tried to just I kept track of where the top middle was, and basically just tried to make sure that those stitch counts between the double stitches and the top were the same versus the stitches from the bottom of the armhole. That could have been very confusing, and so I do apologize if that made no sense at all. But in my brain, that's how I thought about it. And again, because it's a ruffle, it might not be too hard. It might be hard to see if there was any kind of like my double stitches or my short rows didn't happen quite at the same spots on the front and the back. But again, when I was looking at the other sizes and their stitch counts, because there's more stitches, I think that rate again of like where things are, the chunks between the double stitches might be more dramatic in the larger sizes when you're going back and forth. And so just overall, the fear is that the front and back of the ruffles would look different. And so when you do the exact same instructions for the other sleeve, it's going to look a little opposite. In this case, whatever I ended up doing, I've pretty much followed the instructions and just like changed some of the stitch counts. Whatever ended up happening looks okay. Or it looks, I wouldn't be able to tell. At least I don't think I would be able to tell. It looks fine in both the front and the back for the stitches or for the ruffle, and so I'm just gonna go with what I had. But yeah, I was a little disappointed that those instructions were a little bit it's a little difficult to kind of figure out what was going on. So anyway, that was one thing I really wanted to talk about for this pattern. Kind of might have been the reason why I was like, after I was done doing that, I was like, I'm just going to put it on the side and work on something else for the rest of the week. But now that the top part is done and those details are done, I really just need to finish the body, which I think it's almost done. It's almost there. I just want a little bit more length. Oh, and I know for sure one other change I'm going to make to this pattern is that at the end, the hem of the top is, the pattern says to do a garter stitch kind of like hem, and I think that's to kind of tie together the fact that the ruffles are garter stitch, but I don't like the look of that, and so I'm trying to figure out if I will just end it with an I-cord edging around the bottom, or if I'm going to do a folded hem where it's just stockinette, you do a row of purl and then stockinette and then you fold it. I'm not totally sure. If you have opinions, let me know. I-cord hem, or should I do the folded hem? Okay, so that is the Flaneur top. Oh, I forgot again to talk about the yarn and the size. The yarn I'm using for this is Woolberry Fiber Co. Berry Merino in the colorway Let's Go Party. It was a collective colorway sometime earlier last year. And really do like how this is turning out in this pattern specifically. I think just like this top and the ruffle sleeve and this color is so cute. And I am knitting size extra small, and I'm using US 6 needles or 4.0 millimeter needles to knit this. Okay, next up I have, this was my new cast on, I think from last week's video, and I have been working on this so much. I love it. I'm obsessed. I can't believe that I thought that a pattern like this was like pointless. I don't know why, because now I love it. This is the Milton by Joji Locatelli. Let me hold up what I have. This is a cardigan, and I'm just working on the body now. You can see here how much under the arm I have worked. And the yarn I'm using for this is also Woolberry. Oh my gosh, I think every project I have is using Woolberry yarn. I didn't plan it that way, but I think it's because of my goal of finishing up some Woolberry Rewind yarn, because both of these are Woolberry Rewind yarn from last year, and so I'm working towards that goal. Some of the other ones just like, I am part of the Woolberry collective, so I do have a lot of Woolberry yarn. So hoping my next cast on will not be Woolberry yarn. So I'm going to put it out there. Next cast on after this new cast on I'm going to talk about after this one, not Woolberry yarn. But anyway, back to the Milton. The yarn is Woolberry. I am using two different kinds of yarn. So this blue stripe is the Berry Natural base. It's a fingering weight base in the colorway Seashore. And then the white speckly Suri is Berry Suri in the colorway Camp Woolberry. And so this is how it's turning out so far. So pretty, so soft. The rows for the body are feeling like they're getting massive. I think they're taking me I think last time I counted maybe around 10 minutes for each row, which, I don't know, to me just feels like a lot, because that means if each stripe is 4 rows, and so I'm like, it'll take me 40 minutes to do one stripe. But, yeah. Oh, I am knitting size 2, and I'm using US 4 needles, or 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. And it's just been enjoyable. Right now, it is just working on the body, and there are body increases to create an A-line shape of this cardigan. And this cardigan is going to be long. I believe that the finished length from under the arm to the hem of the cardigan is, I think it's 24 inches, I think is what the pattern says. I might actually make it longer than that, depending on how it looks on me and also how much yarn I have, but I really want to try and use up as much of this yarn as I can. So I might make it longer. We'll see. I don't want it to be like, I don't know, it'd be really nice to maybe have it be really flowy and kind of like a dress. But again, we'll see where I'm at with the yarn, how I'm feeling, if I'm like, I am so done with this. But yeah, so I have, where's my stitch marker? Oh, it's right here in the front. So I have my stitch marker from last week from where I was. And so I think I worked a pretty significant amount of body on this cardigan this week, and I'm very, very happy about that. And yeah, this will have long sleeves. And so I'm actually at this point, because I can try it on and it has enough body of the cardigan for me to kind of like see how it's fitting so far, I would really like to get to the sleeves at some point so that I can actually, once I get more length, I really want to see how it looks overall with sleeves. And so before I finish up the body, I will be wanting to finish the sleeves first. And let me show you, because I knit all of this so far with, these are still the first skeins of yarn for each of the colorways. I have 2 of each. I won't, at least for my size, the yardage wise, I'm not, it's not close to finishing up both skeins of these, but I would like to see how close I can get if I make the body longer. But I still have a pretty good amount of both the Suri and the fingering weight left, and so I would like to finish up these balls of yarn for the body before I move to the sleeves, so that I can like connect new balls of yarn to work the sleeves. But if this is going to be like really long, if I'm getting close to like the recommended length of the body and I'm still like have a bunch left, I might just cut my yarn there and work on the sleeves before continuing on the body. So yeah, it is kind of nice to have a project where you're like, oh, I'm not going to run out of yarn. That's fantastic. But yeah, it's just looking so cute, and it really is it's so light and fluffy and soft, and I really like it. I'm just like so shocked that I am kind of loving this, because yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw this pattern before and I was just like not interested. I do think that knitting this with Suri instead of mohair, I think with mohair you could get a little bit more of like that see-through effect, which does, I think, look really cool. But with the Suri, because it's more fluffy, it's less of a see-through effect and more of just like a fluffy, an alternating striped fluffy effect. I mean, who knows, when I wear it, I don't know, and when I block it, it might become a little bit more see-through, but I'm expecting it to be just a bit more on the fluffy side than some of the, or at least for Hoki's version that she has in the pattern, which really has that like see-through alternating stripe effect. I don't think I'll quite get that with this, but that doesn't bother me. I just really like the fluff. Yeah. It's so soft. I really just like want to have the finished object of this and just like wear it around and see how it feels. Because sometimes, sweaters, I can love a sweater, I can love knitting it and love how it feels, and for it to be a little bit inconvenient to wear. And sometimes other sweaters I'm like, meh, while knitting it, but then I just like wear it all the time. So yeah, it's just always very interesting how that sometimes ends up working out. So anyway, that is the Milton by Joji Locatelli. And then my last knitting whip is a new cast on this week. Yeah, I just was looking at my stash, and because I have a lot of new yarn that just came into my stash because of flock, before I cast on with a new yarn, I was like, there's some older yarn that I really just want to use for a project. And I was looking at what I had, looking at patterns I want to knit. I'm trying to prevent myself from buying yarn for a specific project. There are lots of projects that I want to knit, but I'm telling myself no, because it would require me buying a sweater quantity of like DK weight yarn, because I don't really have a sweater quantity of DK weight yarn. That's not the usual yarn I buy unless it is for a specific project. Usually when I have no project in mind, I'll buy like 2 or 1 skein of fingering weight yarn in the color. So I don't know, I feel like I might have to like figure out maybe a different strategy for my yarn buying, just because I have so much DK weight and worsted weight sweater patterns I want to knit, and I have no yarn in stash, and that would mean I'd have to buy yarn. I also thought about combining some of my yarns to hold together to get a DK or worsted weight for those projects, but there's kind of like none in my stash that would work too, because a lot of the ones I want to do are like cabled sweaters, and so I'm like variegation in yarn I don't really want to do. I want to do a more solid color so you can see all of the details. Anyway, that was a long story, but that was my whole thought process, and I came up with an idea, a match from a yarn in my stash, and kind of like an older part of my stash, for a pattern I've been wanting to make. So I cast on the Ballard Pullover by Sari Nordlund, and the yarn I'm using is Woolberry. I know it's Woolberry again. This is Woolberry Berry Tweed DK in the colorway The Weekend. It is a gray tonal colorway, and it's tweed. You can't really see the tweed in the camera right now, or maybe I should. I do have it at the top of my thing here. This is the yarn in the skein form, so you can see that tweed and the gray color there. And I had a sweater quantity of this. This was from the Downton Abbey collection from Woolberry. I think at this point it might have been like, has it been 2 years ago? So, it's not that old, but that it was towards the beginning of when I started buying hand-dyed yarn. So I would call that, the start of that time. And I think I had cardigan plans for this sweater quantity of yarn, and I just didn't want to make it anymore after a lot of time has passed. And again, like I was saying, there's a lot of sweater patterns I want to make that use DK weight yarn, but I wanted a tonal color, or there's just so much details, and I was like, I don't want it to get lost. This is a tonal color, but there's tweed, and so I also was like, maybe I'll have to wait until there's some kind of all over stockinette pattern to use with tweed. But with the Ballard Pullover, I feel like, let me hold it up again. There is a cable, and there's obviously been other sweaters with a lot of cables that have tweed, but for this one specifically, I was like, I think it'd work out so nice because there are those big panels of stockinette knitting in between the cables, and so there's not really any detail that gets lost because of the tweed in this yarn and for these cables. Also because the cable panel is, you know, also kind of big. But the tweed kind of just adds that little extra, I feel like, coziness to the look of this sweater. And to make it look a little less plain. I mean, again, it's not plain. There's cables, but it's not like all over cables with seed stitch in between and like basically no stockinette knitting. And so I thought that this would be a great pairing, and I'm loving how it is turning up. This is worked top down, and as you could maybe tell, I did connect under the arm already and knit a little bit under the arm, and so I'm comfortably working in the round in the body. And I am knitting size 1, and this is important for my next comment about this sweater. So I'm knitting size 1. I'm using US 4 needles, 3.5 millimeter needles to knit this. Now, this is an interesting, I feel like this is an interesting kind of like, what I call it, a design problem for knitting patterns, because at least for my size, as you can see, the stitch pattern, or the stitch pattern for this sweater is this cable panel or column, right? And a stockinette column. And so you can see that for my size, I will only get 3 of those cable columns on the front and just symmetrical on the back, because the amount of stitches you need, so if you look right up to the armhole, there are more stockinette stitches than there are in between the columns of the cable columns on the back. And of course, if you're thinking about it, and I can't have, you know, another cable column here because there's just like not enough stitches to keep that pattern and the stitch count the same all throughout. And so that's why this is just an extended stockinette panel. But what that also means is when I join under the arms here, the entire side of my sweater will just be this wide amount of stockinette stitches with no cable, you know, like an extra cable chart in the middle. I actually didn't do the counting. Are there enough stitches for me to do another cable chart? I'm going to do that right now and check, because I feel like everyone's going to want to know. I don't want to talk and be like, well, that was not quite right. Counting. I was like, I want to count out loud, but I also don't want to give away pattern. It's a paid pattern. I don't want to like talk pattern stitch counts. Okay, there are enough stitches. There are enough stitches under the arm where if after you join, you know, you wanted to do to continue this cable pattern, right? To continue that cable pattern under the arm. Now, maybe people wouldn't want a cable right on the side of their sweater because maybe if you put your arm down, it'll feel funny. I don't know. But so again, it's just like an interesting kind of like, if I were designing this, what would I do? Because it could also just look weird to have those huge side panels with no cables if the rest of the sweater's cables. But also, most of the time, no one's walking around like this with their sweater. Like, your arm is usually down, so you won't see it. I don't know. But it was something that was interesting. I was like, ooh, like, how is this going to go? I'm unsure. But that is how it's going so far for my size. I believe that anything larger than size 1, you will have, like, another column of the cable pattern on each side, so you'll have 5, at least 5, on the front and back. But for size 1, there's just 3 on the front and back. So I guess the good thing about only having 3 on the front and back is that you'll only have to do that cable row 6 times for each round once you're joined in the round. But it also hasn't been too bad because, again, this is DK weight yarn. The actual cable row happens not that frequently, it feels like, and so it's feeling like a really quick knit. And yeah, I just think this pattern's really cute. I've been wanting to make it. I think, did the Ballard tee come out first before the pullover? I want to also make the Ballard tee, but because I want to make the pullover, I think I'm just going to buy, or I already bought, the Ballard pullover pattern, and when I want to make the tee, I'll probably just like modify the pullover to just, just make short sleeves. I don't know how different the Ballard tee pattern is going to be from the pullover because I looked at the gauge, because sometimes gauge is like different or you use a different weight of yarn, but they both use DK weight yarn and they both have the same gauge. So I don't know how different that pattern would be for just the sleeve. Maybe there's different sleeve shaping. Who knows? Maybe there's different armhole shaping for the tee. That could be it. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I don't think I would make the tee super soon after I finish the pullover, but I'm really excited to have this pullover. And it's been some time since I've knit with Tweed, and so I'm pretty excited just to be knitting with a Tweed yarn again, and it's looking really cute. I think it's going to be really cozy, and yeah, I feel like I had something else to say about this. Oh, the Ballard pullover, the kind of like reason why I was drawn to it in the first place is because Sari Nordlund, I believe that she was making this pattern, or like the Ballard, thing of patterns, when she was in Ballard in Seattle, like a little town in Seattle, and I think it was when she came to visit La Mercerie and did her like little class thing at La Mercerie in January earlier this year, and which is something I went to, and so I was just like, oh, how cute, because I know Ballard. I've been to some restaurants and shops in Ballard, and I would just love to have a pullover that's named the Ballard pullover. The cable's also cute, and so that helps. But yeah, so I'm really happy to finally have this pattern on my needles and to also be using some yarn that has been in my stash for definitely over a year, might be 2 years. Yeah, so I think it's looking pretty cute, and so I'm looking forward to kind of like finishing up the body for this and once I have like the neck band in, I think it'll start to look like it's coming together and to start a sleeve. I did start a second ball of yarn for this, and so thankfully I was able to do that a little bit after joining under the arm. So yeah, we're in a good spot for this project. Okay, next up, I do have a fun update for my spinning. I did finish a spin, and this is my Yarn Jam Arieknits colorway. I finished the spin, and I was able to wash the yarn and finish it, and it's dried. And so you can see the actual finished product of this yarn that I spun. Okay. I'm just organizing it so I can show it to you. Really cute. Okay, ready? Can you see it? It makes me so happy. Okay, so if you don't know about this or haven't heard me talk about this, for this spin, I used the Yarn Jam fiber in the colorway Arieknits. Yes, Arieknits is in me, and so that makes this so precious and amazing. And just really quickly before I get into more about this yarn colorway, the yarn base is Merino Rambouillet or Shanico. It is a breed of sheep. It is not a blend of merino wool and Rambouillet wool. The sheep itself is a Merino Rambouillet. It just has the best qualities of both, and this is, I think, my favorite fiber to work with. It is, and like the resulting yarn, I think is my absolute favorite. I just need to knit with it and see what the resulting knit will feel like, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it just because of like how it feels as a finished yarn. But yeah, so if you haven't heard me talk about this colorway is coming out very soon from Yarn Jam for her podcaster collection. This collection is going to come out on the Yarn Jam website, which she launched a new website, and so you should definitely check it out because there are preview listings of everyone's colorway in both of the fiber bases that will be offered for everyone's colorways, which is the Shanico or the Merino Rambouillet plain version, and also confetti tweed version. So again, this is still the tweed is still Shanico. It's still the amazing fiber base, but with colorful tweed bits in there, and I love how my colorway looks with the tweed bits. It just makes me so happy and looks so cute. So yeah, Yarn Jam podcaster collection coming out noon Eastern time, Friday, September 6th. So mark your calendars, get ready, start planning for your colorways. And there is going to be discount codes for the podcaster fiber, 15% off. So that if that helps you with planning, and I hope it does, keep that in mind. Each of the podcasters that are in this collection we'll each are sharing our discount codes on our podcast, but you can use any of them for any of the colorways. So you can use my discount code to buy my colorway, but also just anyone else's colorway as well. So you don't have to find everyone and find their discount codes to match up with their colorways. You can use it for any of the podcaster collection fiber colorways, which is really great. And yeah, I will be sharing that out next week just so that you don't get confused. I don't want to overload you with information, but I want to share the excitement for the colors. And I really, really am happy I finished this spin with enough time to hopefully help with your planning on if you want to get this colorway or not. And I hope it makes you feel like you would love to get this colorway. But this is my colorway, the arieknits colorway, and I feel like it's always helpful to kind of show the finished yarn along with the fiber braid, just because, again, it's kind of like when you're mixing and holding two different colored yarns together, you really don't know what that end result is going to look like. And again, your end up resulting spin could look different than this. The way that I spun for this was I did a 2-ply fractal spin, and the way that I split up my fiber, I had 2 fiber braids, and the first fiber braid I just split in half lengthwise, and I spun it end to end. So that was my first bobbin. And then my second braid, I split it into 4 pieces vertically and spun that end to end, and then on one bobbin, and then I plied those together. And so that's how I got my 2-ply fractal for this. And so you could see, hopefully the camera focuses, that there are some barber pulling moments where there's different colors plied together with all of the different colors throughout. And so I'm really curious to see how that ends up knitting up. But I think it's going to turn out into a really pretty just kind of alternating of colors and striping, and I think it's going to be really fun. And I am planning on taking pictures of this final yarn and posting that on my Instagram so that you can actually see those colors, hopefully in a better light and with a better picture quality than here on the video. But yeah, I just wanted to show that to you here right now. And so that is the resulting yarn. I have 2 skeins, and then I just had a little bit left over on one of my bobbin, and usually when that happens, I just kind of wind it up into a center pull ball, and then I just do a 2-ply from the center and outside of the ball. So I have a cute little mini skein of that as well. And it's so cute. It's so soft. It really did, after washing, just kind of it didn't overly poof up, but it just I think it kind of like has that roundness of I don't want to be making things up here, but I feel like it looks like 3-ply yarns are really like round and kind of like, you can like feel it in the yarn. And I feel like even though this is a 2-ply, like that floofiness just kind of like fills in together. And so it looks pretty round, actually. It's really nice. I really, really like this spin. I really like this fiber. And the colors just feel so calming and relaxing and just like very pastel, which is very me. And I love it so much. It's so great. So again, like, this entire process working with Trisha from Yarn Jam has been fantastic for developing this colorway and just like learning more about the fiber, or just looking at the fiber options and kind of like getting that just right. And got an extra braid from her because I do have a project in mind for this, and also to see this colorway in the tweed. I am very obsessed with this. I just like, wow, it's so fun. I kind of want more of this in the tweed. But speaking of wanting more, I of course want to get everyone else's colorways from this collection as well. And if you go on the Yarn Jam website, it is yarnjam.com. I also have it listed in the description below. There are now preview listings for the podcaster collection. There is like on the top a tab that says podcaster collection, so you can see everyone's colorways and her professional pictures of all of them. It will say sold out at the top, but it's just because, they're not available to buy yet, but she wanted to put it on the website so that everyone can start looking and browsing and seeing what color options are available, and also to see the colors in tweed, and they all look so great. So I hope I mentioned this, I think I did in last week's video, but there are other people in this collection as well. It is not just me, even though the only colorway I have right now, at least for now, is my colorway. My friend Megan from A Naughty Mess also is part of this collection, and her braid is so Megan, and I'm basically going to have to buy at least one braid from everyone in this collection because they're all so good. They all kind of like represent each of us, and I just kind of feel like that's so cute. I want all the fiber braids to be all next to each other and to hug them, so it's like I'm hugging friends. And then Marlene from Marlene Knits is also part of this collection. Her colorway, so she already spun up some of her fiber and is also started knitting it up, and it looks fantastic. I am obsessed with her colorway. I'm really going to have to try my best to not buy too much fiber from this collection. Yes, at least one from each person's colorway, but I kind of want a sorted quantity of everyone's, but I can't do that, right? I don't know. I mean, I could, but I shouldn't. But it's so good. It's gonna be so hard. Okay, and then Emily Curtis from Gently Chaotic Knits. Again, this colorway is so Emily, and it's so good. She also started spinning. She started spinning with her colorway in the tweed version, and it looks like the most fun fiber and the most fun yarn, and it's really I really think I might get hers in tweed, but I feel like I also want to get everyone's in the plain, just have the plain, and the tweed is like that extra fun one, and I feel like in Emily's one, the tweed just works out so perfectly from her colorways, or the colors that are in her fiber. It seriously just looks so good. So good. And then Casey from Young Folk Knits, of course. Her colorway too is just so good, and the tweed version looks really cute as well. Yeah, they all have different colors in it pretty much. Although I know Megan has stated this in her podcast, that all of ours except for hers kind of has a warm tone to it, and we all kind of have some kind of either like a golden yellow or like a brown-ish color in there. And I see that. I totally see it. So, you know, if you're not into those warm tones, go and get Megan's colorway, which is all cool tones. And she did that all just for you guys, so you have options. But yeah, I definitely recommend checking out the Yarn Jam website because all of those listings are up there. I do look on it ever since it came out on the website. I think basically daily I have gone on the website to look at all of the fiber, trying to decide what I'm going to get. But yeah, so I will still be talking about this in next week's episode because it still won't be out. The collection won't be out by next week's episode, but that'll be the last episode before it comes out the following week on the Friday. So September 6th, mark your calendars if you're interested in buying some fiber. You're going to love this base, I promise you, which, oh man, kind of scary to do that, but like I just like can't see how someone would not like this fiber. It's just so good. It's so soft. It's easy to spin. It's so fluffy. It's just so good. I don't know how someone could not like this fiber. It's really good, and you'll become obsessed just like me. So anyway, that is the podcaster collection from Yarn Jam, and just like a few more updates on it. You know, go check out the website because the listings are up and the pictures look so good. I did want to also mention that because my spin for this is now done, I want to get cracking on the project that I have planned for this. I want to make the framed sweater by Andrea Mowry with this, and I wanted to wait until the spin was done before I was trying to look at contrast colors for the sweater. So once it's finished, I was looking at colors, and I am going to use the Merino Rambouillet, the Shaniko yarn from Yarn Jam also to pair with this. She has a DK weight Shaniko yarn, and I did try to spin this around DK weight. I think DK weight will work for the frame sweater, even though it says worsted weight. I've heard people say DK weight will work, and so I want to pair the contrast colors Shaniko yarn with Shaniko yarn. So, and because it's Yarn Jam, I want to match it up. Yarn Jam fiber, Yarn Jam yarn. Also because if you end up liking the color combinations I have, then you can totally get it through Yarn Jam as well. So I was looking at all of the colors she has to offer on the Shaniko DK base, and I was like, too many good options, need help. And so I think in multiple chats that I'm in, I asked for color help, and I also got help from Trisha directly, who gave me even more amazing color options to pair with this yarn for my framed sweater. And she was also so helpful because she took pictures of my fiber braid, because she obviously has that with her in her studio, along with the yarn colorways that she had, and took pictures and sent it to me so that I could actually see a side-by-side of those colors. And I went back and forth between basically all of the options for a long time, and I'm still deciding. It won't be final until I actually make my purchase, but I'm pretty sure I will be going for doing just one contrast color with this, because the pattern actually has 3 different yarn colors to make the whole sweater, but I'm just going to do one contrast color, and it's going to be a dark brown. And right now I'm just trying to decide whether to do a actual dark brown or to do a dark brown that's kind of like a more red dark brown. I'm leaning towards a more red dark brown, but let me know what you think. I know if I am editing and I'm in the right mood and I remember to do it, I'll maybe put pictures up of my 2 options that I'm choosing between. Maybe you could help me there too. But yeah, this is the finished arieknits Yarn Jam colorway, and I'm so excited about it. I can't wait for it to have its own photo shoot moment, and I will definitely be posting those, or this finished picture, on my Instagram before the release of the fiber collection, so that you can look at it, you can decide, help you with your decision. I like when I have all of the information I need to buy from a collection. As far as like pictures and like colorway options, I like to see it with enough time before it releases, so that it doesn't feel like a rush and kind of like an impulse buy. So hopefully that helps you out. And yeah, that's all I have to say about the Yarn Jam Podcaster collection for now. Actually, one more thing, but about this finished yarn specifically. So I did actually get, I wrote it down in my notes, my final yardage. Before wash though, because I didn't measure after washing this and for it drying. Before washing, my final yardage for all of this yarn, plus the mini, 596 yards pre-washing. And that was with 8 ounces of fiber. So, and I tried to spin this at a DK weight, so a little bit thicker than my normal spin. So I think not bad. Okay. Now that is all I have to say about my spinning and the Yarn Jam podcaster collection. I'm just really excited about it, and I'm excited that the collection involves my friends as well, and so it all just kind of feels like we're just a little group of friends, and I love it. Okay, I do have a small acquisition a small acquisition section for today's podcast. It's just short. It's pretty short. I want to start off with this because I'm pretty sure I forgot to talk about this fiber in my flock recap and my flock, what I bought, my flock haul last week. So this is from Skagit Woolen Works. This is the Skagit Woolen Roving. The breed is Targhee/alpaca. It's 70/30. And the color is called Posy. So cute. Each of these are 2 ounces. So I have 4 ounces total. It is just the cutest purple lavender color. It's so cute. And so when we went to this booth at Flock, I was basically touching all the fiber, and I had some. I was like, oh, I'm going to buy this. And then I went over to another section, and I saw this, and I was like, I touched it, and I looked at it, and I was like, Targhee alpaca, oh my gosh, I need. And so I actually put what I had in my arms down, and I got this instead, because it's just such a cute color, and I love buying fiber with fiber blends, or just like different kinds of fiber composition or breed of whatever it came from that I've never spun with before. And so yeah, I love Targhee, I love alpaca, and so a mix of those seemed like it'd be perfect. So yeah, it's just really soft, but I can see that it does have, I can see like the Targhee in it, because it does have kind of like that, I don't want to say like stiffness, because if it was just alpaca, it would definitely like just like flop over, and not stiff as in like rough and hard, just kind of like holds its shape, and like fluff. So I just wanted to show you that this was, I believe I forgot to talk about this in my flock haul, so I do have this 2 more things of fiber that I got from Flock. And then I did get this yarn last week, but because it was the Flock episode, I didn't want to like confuse it or just like add even more to that super long episode. So I did get some Woolberry, more Woolberry yarn from the collective colorways. So also, excuse me, oh my gosh, I've been talking, my throat is saying you've been talking a lot. So anyway, these are from the collective, And there's 2 colorways, and I kind of got them recently because of my move. Had some issues with like the packages being sent and having to the old place and having to get them sent here instead. So kind of took a while, but I'm glad they're finally here. Especially this one. I got a sweater quantity of the Berry Rambouillet worsted yarn in the colorway Stargazing. Really pretty like gray purple. And I really, really like this colorway, and I do have sweater plans for this. I don't know when I'll cast it on, but I'm really excited. This is my first Rambouillet worsted base sweater quantity. I've knit with it to make 2 hats, 2 different kinds of hats, but hats. And I love the output, or the resulting finished object, and I love how it feels. Love Rambouillet, as you can maybe tell from all of the spinning that I've been doing, and so having kind of like this Rambouillet yarn that you can just like buy. I'm excited to have a sweater spin of Rambouillet because I don't have a sweater made with Rambouillet wool yet, so that's really exciting for this yarn. And then I also got 2 skeins of this, also from the Woolberry Collective. This is the Berry Natural DK, so the non-superwash DK yarn, merino yarn from Woolberry in the colorway Grapefruit Fizz, and this is like grapefruit color, peachy orange, and ever since I knit, I think I have like 2 tops. Yeah, I have 2 tops in the grapefruit colorway from Explore Knits, which I love the color, but like I didn't realize, like I think I actually look pretty cute in it. Like it looks good on me, that color, and so when I saw this color come out from Woolberry, I was like, I want it because it'll be cute. I got 2 skeins of DK. I don't know what I'm gonna make with this, but I feel like I'm trying to figure out how to add more DK weight yarn in my stash for projects, and so this is kind of like me trying to do that, to add more DK weight yarn. And then I think that's all of like the bought yarn, and then I wanted to talk about this. I got this during Flock weekend, not at Flock, but my friend Bridget brought over some of her bats that she made and gave to us some of her bats that she made, basically. And so this is the one that I actually had a really hard time choosing which one, and thankfully to my friends, I was like, can you guys just choose for me, please, because I think you know me better than myself on which one I would want. So I got this little cutie of a bat, basically a pink rainbow. So cute. So this is I'm just reading off the tag. Wool silk blend, about 2 ounces, 57 grams, 92% wool, Corriedale and a mystery fine wool, and 8% Tussa silk. So it's just a little cutie, and I haven't spun with a bat yet. I have been waiting to, I usually, even though I knit a whole bunch of projects all at the same time, I spin just one project at a time. So I've been waiting to finish up my Yarn Jam spin before I attempt a bat, and so I think that my next spin is actually going to be one of Bridget's bats. I did buy 2 of her bats, which are living up here right now, so I can put this one right on top there. Oh, it looks so cute. So the only thing is I'm gonna miss seeing the bats like this. They just like look like cute little pillows. So my next spin will probably be a bat because I really want to do that. And I know I realized I haven't posted my Spin With Me episode 3 yet because I actually don't know where my finished yarn for that is, and the only footage I'm missing of that is of my finished yarn. So I need to find that. But bat maybe will be my Spin With Me episode 4. Maybe I will spin with a bat first, and then my next bat will be an episode, or it might be fun to actually film the first time I spin with a bat. So we'll see. But those are just little quick future-ish plans for my spinning, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you, Bridget, for bringing this cute little pink rainbow bat, and can't wait to spin with it. And with that, I think we are done for the episode today. I'm looking around. I wanted to just like quickly talk about some things. I said in the beginning of the video I was going to talk about my crafting room just a little bit. So I was hoping that by this episode I would be in my crafting room, but some things didn't quite work out with some of the changes I wanted to make in it and just like timelines. So I'm still out in this other room right now. But basically, the crafting room that I have, or / office, I was in there with all of my stuff, but then I wanted to repaint the entire room except for the ceiling because I don't want to touch the ceiling. But the whole room was painted this like light blue-green color. And that's not me because, as you know, I love pink. And so what I wanted to do is actually repaint the entire walls, all of the walls in the room, white with one pink accent wall, just a light pink accent wall. And so I think it was, last weekend, not this weekend, but last weekend was painting weekend. So I spent the weekend painting that room, hoping for it to dry and to move all of my stuff back in this weekend. But we also needed to add baseboards to the walls, like the bottom, next to the floor. And there's something we need to investigate about the floors in that room first, and so we can't put in the baseboards. And if we don't put in the baseboards, I don't want to move in all my stuff because we need that space to kind of still do stuff with the floors. So, not moved into that room yet, but I'm hoping it'll happen soon. I also I have this like shelf, right, for my yarn right now, but this isn't all of my stash. And I want to buy actual cabinets, for my yarn stash. And so I was also hoping to do that this weekend, to buy cabinets. I have a plan, of what, which cabinets and kind of how I want to position them. But I realized that the cabinets I want are too tall to fit in my car. So that can't be bought quite yet. Might just get them shipped here. Not sure. But also the room's not ready for me to put them in the room. So there's not really a point on getting it anytime soon. Until at least the floor situation is fixed in that room. So that's the quick update. So again, the background of me is going to look a little different for some time, I think. Or just gradual changes. You'll see it. I'll talk about it. But I am hoping that the pink accent wall I have in my room will actually be the background of my videos. And that's a plan. So, that's just a quick update on those projects as well. It's not crafting projects, but it is crafting related because it's for my crafting room. But yeah, so that's been pretty fun. Just means a little less time to knit every week because of those kinds of projects, but it's been fun. It's been fun. So, okay, now I am done talking. Those are all of the updates for the week. I hope you all have a great upcoming week. I hope you all had a great week this past week. And as always, let me know in the comments down below what you have been knitting or spinning on, or crocheting or sewing, or any other craft that you do. Would love to hear about it. If you have pattern ideas, I also love to hear about it because my list isn't already long enough, but you all really have some great pattern ideas that I definitely keep kind of like a checklist of for things I want to knit in the future. So I love to hear about it. And yeah, don't forget to check out the Yarn Jam podcaster collection preview listing on her website. And if you have plans for those fiber colorways, let me know in the comments too, because I need help, because I want all of them. So yeah, I would love to hear about what your plans are for that as well. And with that, hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.